Does your young athlete fear making mistakes? Are they afraid of what's going to happen if they mess up? Do they look a little timid and rigid when they're playing in games, but in practices they're a little bit more confident and they perform more naturally? If so, then they're probably dealing with the fear of failure, the fear of making mistakes. And so if your young athlete is dealing with this fear, what you want to do is help them overcome this fear of failure. And that's what you're going to learn how to do in this video. I'm Eli Straw, mental performance coach and the founder of SuccessStartsWithin.com. I've been working with a baseball player recently who's dealt a lot with the fear of failure. Specifically, he had fears when it came to throwing to first base. He plays shortstop and third base, and throwing to first base is something he feared. He didn't exactly fear the throw, he feared making a bad throw. And that right there is a key element of the fear of failure. The young athlete isn't necessarily afraid of the mistake. They're not afraid of, making the bad throw or missing the shot. They're afraid of what's going to happen. He was afraid of his coach moving him positions because he didn't want to get put in the outfield or something because his coach didn't think that he could play shortstop well or he couldn't play third base well. But the more that he was afraid of making a bad throw, the more he held himself back, he kind of babied his throw, and the more bad throws he made. So this is a very common theme we see in young athletes, in that when they have the fear of failure, it is their fear that typically causes them to make more mistakes in the first place. So we really need to work on getting them to accept that fear, build confidence, and let go of that fear. Because when they focus more on what they don't want to have happen, this is going to hold them back. They are going to underperform in games because they're playing more timidly. Because if they don't want to make a mistake, playing all out, playing aggressively, it can feel very scary because that feels like it gives you a better chance of making a mistake. But in reality, it's the act of holding yourself back, being a little timid, taking some off your throws, not shooting with confidence, not running as fast as you can. That's really where the mistakes happen because they're holding themselves back. But by holding themselves back, it feels a little safer. And so in that safety and feeling a little bit more comfortable, there doesn't seem to be as much risk. So that's why they hold themselves back. But by holding themselves back, number one, even if they don't make a mistake, they're going to underperform. So typically, they're still going to be frustrated at the fact that they held themselves back, but then also it increases their chances of making mistakes. To help, what you can do is get them to really think about what they're truly afraid of. Meaning, get them to think, okay, I'm not afraid of making the mistake, I'm afraid of this consequence, right? I'm afraid of getting benched or I'm afraid of moving positions. So what I really want to make sure of is I want to make sure that I'm playing well, because I know that if I play well, that gives me the best chance of not having this negative consequence and this negative outcome that I don't want to have happen. The reason that's a good and a helpful thing to do is because it gets them to begin thinking about the true ways that they play their best. Instead of trying to run away from this fear, we use it to get their attention more onto the process, which is going to be step 2. The second thing you need to do is help them focus more on just the process and focus on some process objectives, because when they have this fear, their minds have traveled into the future. They're thinking about what's going to happen if I make a mistake. Am I going to make a mistake? I don't want to make a mistake. All that's happening in the future. We need to reel their attention back in and place it on the present moment. Setting objectives and focusing more on process goals helps them focus more on the present moment. This can be as simple as throw it hard. That's the objective that I used with the baseball player, and it helped him because he was taking some off of his throws to try to be too accurate. But when he threw it as hard as he could over to first base, he made more accurate throws. So the cue that we focused on was throw it hard, because that's part of the process. He can control how hard he throws it. When he throws it hard, it gives him a better chance of making a good throw. And then the third tip that you can use is getting your young athlete to focus more on what they want to have happen instead of focusing more on what they don't want to have happen. When there is fear of failure present, the athlete is focusing more on what they don't want to have happen. They're thinking, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to get benched. I don't want coach to yell at me. That leads to more fear because the image that they have in their mind is of what they don't want to have happen, because that's what they're thinking about. Instead, you can help them begin thinking more about what they want to have happen. So think, I want to make that play. I'm going to make this play. I can't wait to go out there and get a hit. I can't wait to go out there and score those points. This is what I want to have happen during the game. And a way that you can get them to actually do that is by practicing some visualization, where they visualize what they want to happen. With the baseball player example, I had him visualize during the week, him making strong throws. But I also had him visualize during games, very briefly between pitches, closing his eyes and imagining himself making a strong throw. That's a way to help train them to focus on what they want to have happen instead of focusing on what they don't want to have happen. So if you have a young athlete who's dealing with the fear of failure, make sure that you're getting them to identify what they're truly afraid of, focus more on the process, and then focus more on what they want to have happen instead of what they don't want to have happen. Now, to really help your young athlete overcome this fear of failure, there are 2 resources that I have available for you. One of them is going to be the Young Athletes Mental Toughness course. This is a 6-module course that goes into detail on 6 key fundamentals to help your young athlete strengthen their mental game, such as managing mistakes, improving their focus, building confidence, calming nerves, overcoming this fear, enjoying themselves more, setting better goals, and so on. This is a self-paced course that's going to come with a workbook so they can really follow along and complete the exercises as they go throughout the course. The second option is going to be one-on-one coaching. One-on-one mental performance coaching is where I will work with your young athlete to help identify their fears and then create a custom plan on working through their fears. And then the coaching is going to take place during weekly 50-minute coaching sessions that are going to be performed virtually over the 12-week program. Links to learn more about the course and one-on-one mental coaching are in the description below. If you have any questions about overcoming the fear of failure in your young athlete or any other sports psychology topic, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I wish you the best of success in all that you do.